Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm your host David Brains, and in today's game we have Josh and Richard, and they've brought Iron Warriors and Alpha Legion. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Really great to have these gents here. They have put a ton of effort in. They've travelled up last night, stayed over locally, and have made their way to the channel this morning nice and early. You've come all the way up from Portsmouth, is that right?
That's right, yeah. So,
absolutely.
Drop up last night.
So some great effort there to bring this game to you. Bit of a classic matchup. Iron Warriors, Alpha Legion, really popular legions at the moment. Tons around.
Yeah.
Really great to have them on the channel. We've got 2,500 points. And I think it's going to be a great game. The great thing about today's game as well is that you're friends and you know each other.
We know each other.
Long-standing rivals. I think we've played each other about 30 or 40 times with these legions.
Easily.
Fingers crossed, it should be an interesting one.
Great. It's always great to have friends to come on the channel, two great armies, two guys that know each other, and the day just goes that little bit easier. So really looking forward to this. Gents, we're going to have a quick look at your lists. Caestus, is that how I'm pronouncing it?
Caestus.
It's as good as any. I did Latin at university and I'm still not entirely clear on how I should be saying it.
I have one, it is Caestus. It's great.
I refer to it as the Ram, so we'll just stick with the Ram for sake.
Okay. The Ram. We've got a Ram. Not many of these around.
No.
Yeah, they're an interesting unit, and I think they tend to be used to ferry your elites around, your Crusader squads and the like. Reality is I use it as a tank buster for the melter weapon on the front.
Yeah. And good to see a Xiphon as well.
Yeah, love it. This is a sort of recent addition to my army.
Okay.
And it's now a staple.
It's a much feared addition as well.
Absolutely. When it decides to turn up, because quite often it'll come in turn 4 and everything's either already dead or I'm already dead. So but I absolutely love it.
It's good to see a Xiphon. Everyone's go-to tends to be a Lightning, and why not? Because the Lightning is an absolutely spectacular vehicle. It's so good. But I think the Xiphon fits the Marine aesthetic a bit more than the Lightning does.
And you also you've got the constant firepower from it. You know, you don't come in, drop your load, and then you're sort of ferrying around for the game. You get those two Lightning.
And it's just as effective picking off small elite units as it is actually taking on Lightning armor. So it's a really useful vehicle, and it's so nimble. I always struggle to pin it down with the limited anti-air I've got.
It's the agile rule, isn't it? The 3+.
Oh yeah.
Jink. Jink saves. Brilliant.
And those weapons are twin link. Those twin link las cannons. You've got 2 twin link las, so it does help if you do Jink. You know, or everyone loves a reroll. You know, we've seen that on quad las cannons on Spartans.
Absolutely.
Snap shooting, you always get some 6s. It's great. And you've brought the fantastic Arcus,
the friend maker.
Oh!
Do you know what? It is fantastic when it works. Again, I thought it'd be really good to get rid of the Caestus with it, but it seems to struggle a little bit with sort of anti-air. But it's great at picking off some of the more elite units.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, we had a practice game on Friday where the Ram arrived very early and destroyed the Arcus in what was possibly the most satisfying exchange of firepower I've exchanged. But so we'll see how it goes.
It's going to be good. I love to see the Arcus on the board. They are a very, very powerful vehicle, and they do tend to get targeted quite a bit, as you just mentioned. So we'll see how long it goes for. I don't know. Looking at the list, though, a ton of infantry, which is really great. Love to see Heresy games with lots of infantry. You've obviously got 2 squads of Terminators. You've got the Linnaeans and you've got your Rewards of Treason.
That's right, yeah, the Grave Warden. I don't often play Coils of the Hydra. I'm normally more of a Pride of the Legion kind of player. But I absolutely love the models. And I thought, getting on the channel, it'd be good to play a really Alpha Legion-y kind of style. So they sort of fill a hole that I don't actually have in the rest of the army, really, which is sort of pumping out those poison
mass templates.
Yeah, and we've seen them to great effect, particularly in Zone Mortalis in previous games, where the rate of firepower is just tremendous. So really good to see them. Loyalist Iron Warriors, we've got Kervalen leading the force.
The real Iron Warriors. Loyal to the Emperor. It was a bit of an odd decision I made at the time. I really loved the Iron Warriors kind of look and the ethos and the way they play, but really didn't like Perturabo. From every single Horus Heresy novel and every book, just spoiled child.
Okay.
So I'd like to think Loyalist Iron Warriors is probably the right way to go. But Keir Vallon as well, really interesting character. So
Yeah, he's got a ton of rules attached to him as well. So.
yes, which I remember all of, so it will be fine. But he's got character. He gives a little something extra to the force as well, and it kind of fits in with the kind of theme we're going today, like the Battle of Paramar, that kind of grudge match, Alpha Legion versus Iron Warriors.
Yeah.
So perfect fit narratively to go into the army. So.
Yeah, and I think the two armies will work really well in the mission we've got for you. We've got Hammer and Anvil, which is a great long-ended board, and then we've got the War of Lies. So I love War of Lies because you can play your heart out the whole game, and then you can get screwed right at the end on the dice roll.
Throw it away on a single dice. It is good, and sometimes I think, and this might be one of those battles where it'll ebb and it'll flow, and it'll feel like the Alpha Legion are going to win it, and then all of a sudden they get to those 4 objectives, 666, and all of a sudden I'm
also that -9.
Yeah, with my one broken squad fleeing on the table. Yeah. But that's good, really, really good mission.
Good. And the board we've got for you is very similar to, I'd say, yesterday's game, but this would have been released a couple of weeks later. So we filmed 2 games in one, 2 games over the weekend. We did Night Lords, Blood Angels with Wilf and his friend. So the board has been changed ever so slightly. And as always, unfortunately, the Mechanicum don't seem to be able to pilot their Thunderhawk very well because they are forever crashing it just before the landing pad. Slight bit of irony there, but that's what we've got. And also as well, as this game is being filmed, Forge World unfortunately have discontinued the macro carried Explorator vehicle, I think it's called.
Beautiful vehicle.
Absolutely. It is beautiful. It's a real shame. But luckily, the channel has got one in its collection, thanks to James, and we've stuck it on the landing pad as a bit of a teaser, I thought. Why not?
Here's what you could have done.
Rubbing it in people's faces, absolutely.
I won't show people the collection of my Zone Mortalis doors. I've got probably about 50 of them. So
everyone needs a hobby.
Everyone on Facebook is like, has everyone got any doors for Zone Mortalis? I'm like, I've got loads, but I need them. Anyway, yeah. It's such a shame. Hopefully they'll bring them back.
Gold.
Yeah. I say this every time, but I do mean it every single time I say it. I am looking forward to this. I love the fact you've got a ton of troops. We've seen the Terminators. The name escapes me.
Siege Terminators.
Devastating. Absolutely devastating.
Yeah. They are great, and you've got 3 Dreadnoughts as well.
Yeah, I used to run them as Cortis, so I kind of went for numbers just to go against the fact that their armor was lighter, but then they'd have a ton of special rules to go with. But yeah, my army, I play quite an aggressive mechanized force usually, but I was losing a lot of firepower, so they're mobile enough to keep up with the troops and keep up with the rhinos. But then equally, the heavy conversion beamer has been a bit of a game winner for me quite a lot of turns. You don't see very many.
No, I was about to mention that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit restricted with firing calibration protocols, so you have to stay static to use it. But over 42 inches, it becomes a strength 10 AP1 large blast.
Yeah.
So
it's not bad.
Yeah, a bit
all of a sudden you start losing entire units.
But it suits my playstyle in the same way that's obviously the way you've built your army suits yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
We kind of react. Our meta in our local games club down in Gosport is quite heavily focused on a heavy armour, so we've all kind of built lists around that kind of threat.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see if the Alpha Legion can do their usual tactic by infiltrating and then outflanking to mitigate perhaps the reach of that.
They always do.
Yeah.
Always do. Turn 1, it looks fantastic, and then all of a sudden they're behind
72
me
inches.
panicking. Yeah.
Oh, God. I was going to say one other thing, but it just escaped me. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. If you look at the forces on the whole, to me, the Alpha Legion look like they've got the edge. So you've got a ton of firepower. You've got this massive bricks, which are which is the Spartan and the Arcus and stuff. And
a general who rolls 1s whenever.
I do. It's so awful. I am my dice roll.
They are literally appalling. No matter what dice you buy and how many of them you do try to, you can't roll 6s.
But you've got a ton of troops which will help in the end game for capturing those objectives on the last turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that will help.
I think all mine have got are scoring actually. They're implacable advance.
Great.
Well, whereas with mine, I focus on the staying power. So with Iron Warriors not taking roll checks from losing casualties due to shooting, he has to completely denude my units in order to get rid of them, as opposed to forcing them to break and flee off. So I really rely on having the staying power.
It's interesting. And by way of coincidence, James and I filmed an Iron Warriors showcase last week, which will come out before this game. So if you want to have a look at James's 12,000 points of Iron Warriors, we cover all those particular rules with the...
I'd best double check my rules.
Yeah. So we're quite off on Iron Warriors at the moment. So yeah, go to the website and watch that video. It's a really interesting video that James, he loves Iron Warriors and talks really in depth about their tactics and various bits and bobs. Yeah. No doubt we'll see some of them come through today.
They're a flexible force. I think the two easily get pigeonholed as being, we'll just take Hammer Olympia, loads of heavy, sit in the back and smash. Actually, you can do anything you want, like any Legion, but you can do anything you want with the Iron Warriors. You can build them any which way. Yeah,
absolutely. And one final thing before we go, talk to me about the Saboteur from the Alpha Legion.
The Saboteur, yes, of the archetypal Alpha Legion character. So yeah, there's a bit of contention, particularly online, with his Saboteur rule.
Sabotage
attack. Apologies. Sabotage attack. When he comes on, he creates an automatic. The contentious bit is the automatic penetrating hit on Dreadnoughts, Contemptors particularly, because you have 5 up or a 6 up in combat or shooting. It's whether the attack on the Contemptor gets the save or not.
Correct.
Now, the rule says it's an automatic penetrating hit. It's gone through.
Which to us reads as you just roll on the table,
you get it
flat. So, and
that's how we've played it.
Yeah, and from a fluff perspective, it's the Alpha Legion agent or operative who's been there 20 years beforehand, whilst the Dreadnought's being built, put something on the inside, then all of a sudden, 20 years later,
the button. There it goes.
I think Fluffy really
works. It works.
Absolutely fits the narrative.
It never really comes into play because generally the Saboteur comes on and goes after like a flyer or a Spartan just to get that lucky, because it can do it.
It's fine. Cestus is fine. It's not a threat.
But with a Dreadnought, they've got an invulnerable save. So the gents have agreed that they do not get, a Dreadnought does not get an invulnerable save from the Saboteur's attack.
No,
so just to clear that up. If you think differently, let us know. But that's how we're playing it today. So I hope that's okay with everyone. Gents, let's have a look at your lists.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then we'll get into turn 1.
This part of the 77th Grand Battalion of the Iron Warriors, led by Keir Varlin, using the Pride of the Legion Rite of War and the Battle Logistician Warlord trait, 2,500 points. Leading the Loyalist Iron Warriors into combat, Keir Varlin, Warsmith of the Iron Warriors, Warsmith of the 77th Grand Battalion, and more particularly loyal to the Emperor. Artificer Armour, Relic Blade, Volkite Charger, some interesting special rules that will come out: Shatter Assault, Master of Fortifications, and Battle Logistician. First elite choice for the Iron Fourth, a singular rapier quad gun with frag and shatter shells. The second, third, and fourth elite choices for the Iron Fourth are Contemptor Dreadnoughts, starting from the left, a stock Contemptor Dreadnought with a close combat weapon and twin-link bolter, and on its right arm, a heavy conversion beamer. The next Dreadnought along is a Contemptor with a close combat arm and twin-link bolter, armed with a Kera's assault cannon, no other upgrades. And the final Dreadnought is a Contemptor Dreadnought with a multi-melter on its right arm, close combat weapon on the left with a melter gun in the fist. The first and second troops choices for the Iron Fourth are identical units. So we have 10 Weapon Master Veterans and their dedicated transport, a Rhino. The Rhino has the combi bolter and no upgrades. And the troops themselves, you have a veteran sergeant in Artificer Armour with a Thunderhammer and bolter, the remainder of the squad armed with bolters and close combat weapons, and 2 melter guns. The third and final troops choice, a squad of 5 Terminators in Tartarus pattern armour, a mix of weapons amongst them. The sergeant has a chain fist and combi bolter. There's a plasma blaster. The remainder of the squad have combi bolters and lightning claws. The second HQ choice for the Iron Warriors is a Damocles Command Rhino as stock, so combi bolter, a range of special rules including geolocator array, and that will be very useful through the game. The first Iron Warriors heavy support choice is a squad of 7 Iron Havocs led by a sergeant with a missile launcher with flak missiles, crack missiles and frag missiles. He also has an augury scanner. The remainder of the unit is armed with heavy bolters firing shrapnel bolts. The second heavy support choice is a squad of 5 Tyrant Siege Terminators, all armed with Cyclone missile launchers and combi bolters. There are 4 Power Fists and 1 Chain Fist. The third and final heavy support choice for the Iron Warriors is a Cestus Assault Ram with missile launchers and a Magnum Melter and no other upgrades.
2,500 points of Alpha Legion, running the Calls of the Hydra Rite of War, led by Armilius Dynat. Mutable tactic will be infiltrating, and the Warlord trait is Hammer Strike Assault, which allows 1 unit to deep strike from the army. Leading the Alpha Legion today is Armilius Dynat, Harrow Master of the Alpha Legion, Griefbringer, Instar 9. He's armed with Artificer Armour, Thunderhammer, Power Sword, Phosphex Bomb, and a Cognis Signum. His special rule, the Harrowing, means all Legionis Astartes, Alpha Legion, Dreadnoughts, or Marines get +1 to any results they inflict on the vehicle damage table. He has weapon mastery, meaning he can split his attacks between his 2 weapons. And his warlord trait is Hammer Strike Assault, meaning 1 unit in the army can deep strike. Second HQ choice for the Alpha Legion is a Saboteur. He is armed with a combi melter bombs, and has the special sabotage attack. He's also wearing Artificer armor. First elite unit for the Alpha Legion are a 7-man Linnaean Terminator squad. They are wearing Cataphractii armor. They carry Volkite chargers. There's 1 chain fist, 2 power fists, and 3 power axes. The Harrower is armed with a chain fist and power dagger. He also has a Venom Sphere harness, which grants Hum of Wrath to the unit. Second elite choice for the Alpha Legion is a Rewards of Treason unit, the Grave Warden Terminators. There's 5 models in Cataphractii armor. There are 4 assault grenade launchers, 1 chain fist, and 3 power fists. The Chem Master is also armed with an assault grenade launcher, chain fist, and power dagger. Third and final elite choice for the Alpha Legion is a single Rapier Laser Destroyer. The 3 troop choices for the Alpha Legion are all Legion tactical squads. They are 10-man squads with bolters, additional close combat blades, Legion Vexilla, and 2 of the units have Nuncio Voxes. All the sergeants are armed identically with Artificer armor, power fist, and a power dagger. They're all riding in a Legion Rhino with no upgrades. Fast attack choice for the Alpha Legion is a Xiphon Interceptor. It's armed with 2 twin-link las cannons, the Xiphon rotary missile launcher. It has an armoured cockpit, chaff flare launchers, and ground tracking auguries. Heavy support choice for the Alpha Legion is a Sakaran Arcus strike tank. It's armed with Arcus warheads, Sky Spear warheads, las cannon sponsons, armoured ceramite, a dozer blade, and extra armour. Dedicated transport for the Linnaean Terminators is a Spartan assault tank. It is equipped with 2 twin-linked quad las cannons, armoured ceramite, and a flare shield, and a hull-mounted heavy bolter.
Josh, Richard, the Alpha Legion and Iron Warriors have deployed. Josh, there's not a lot of Alpha Legion on the table. Bit of a classic ploy though, eh?
Yeah, I've got a few things coming in from reserve, unit deep striking. Hopefully there won't be table turn 1. We'll get a turn 2.
And Richard, you're determined to hold that city, aren't you?
Stoic defensive terminus will win the Battle of Paramar, turn history round.
Absolutely. And Richard, you won the roll-off to deploy first, go first, and you decided to go first.
I did indeed.
But Josh, the Alpha Legion want a seize.
Really want to seize, and because of the cause of the Hydra right of war, I get to re-roll that.
Great.
2 chances, 1 in 3, getting a 6.
Dirty.
Do you?
Let's have a friendly handshake quickly. Good luck, gents.
Good luck.
What could go wrong?
Let's have a seize.
Oh, 5, re-roll, and another 5.
Iron Warriors turn 1. Iron Warriors turn 1 movement. The Contemptor Dreadnoughts have pushed out beyond the city's defences. The 1st Tactical Squad's Rhino has overtaken the stationary Damocles, keeping the Ace and Hull stationary. Moving around, the Havocs have remained in place, trying to get a good vantage point for the heavy bolters. The Siege Tyrants have moved forwards a little just to bring the Spartan side armour into target. Iron Warriors turn 1 shooting. The Quad Mortar fired shatter shells at the Alpha Legion Rhino on the hill. Only 1 hit out of 4, but fortunately scored a penetrating hit and a weapon destroyed result, taking off the combi bolter. Contemptor Dreadnought opened fire on the Alpha Legion's Rhino with its Kara's assault cannon. 6 shots, hitting 4 times, causing 2 penetrating hits and a glancing, but only 1 of the glancings went through. The Iron Warriors Siege Tyrants, now they've moved out into a better shooting position, have opened fire 4 of their number firing at the Spartan, managing to strip off a lucky glancing result after 7 hits, while the Sergeant with his Omniscope split his fire into the Rhino, destroying it and forcing the occupants to disembark. The conversion beamer from the Contemptor Dreadnought managed to score a direct hit on the Alpha Legion squad, having just emerged from its broken Rhino, thankfully scoring 2 casualties. The Iron Havocs, firing from cover, engaged the Alpha Legion squad on the far side of the board with their shrapnel bolts and a frag missile, scoring a grand total of 15 hits, from which 3 casualties have been taken, pinning the squad. The Damocles Rhino, probably going to be under fire next turn from this Rapier laser destroyer, took its chance, fired its bombardment at the squad out in the open on the far side of the board, landing a direct hit, causing 7 wounds, killing 6 and leaving the Sergeant standing alone, passing, however, his leadership check. The shooting phase for the Iron Warriors has drawn to a close, ending with the Contemptor Dreadnought running 2 inches, a Rhino moving flat out 6 inches over the barricades, and the last Rhino popping smoke. Overall, a good shooting phase, taking the fight very much to the enemy.
Alpha Legion turn 1 movement. The lone surviving sergeant of the depleted squad has moved 6 inches towards the bastion. The Sikaran Arcus has moved 12 inches out into the open, hoping to get a bit of cover in the shooting phase from the conversion beamer. Alpha Legion Rhino number 1 has moved forward 6 inches towards the objective on the Thunderhawk. The Spartan Assault Tank has also moved forward 6 inches to get the Linnaean Terminators closer to the enemy. And the final Rhino at the back of the field is remaining stationary, hopefully for some last turn objective grabbing. Alpha Legion turn 1 shooting phase. The Sikaran Arcus has moved flat out to get a better vantage of the battlefield for future game turns. The Spartan has fired 1 Twin-Link Lascannon and the Twin-Link Heavy Bolters into the Iron Havoc squad. The Heavy Bolter hit 3 times, snap shooting, causing 1 wound, which was saved by the Iron Warriors. The Lascannon scored 2 wounds, but both were saved by the cover save. The final Lascannon fired into the Shatter Shells quad launcher, scored 2 hits, both were saved by cover. The last Alpha Legion Sergeant has run 3 inches behind the bastion for a late turn objective grab. And the lone Rapier Laser Destroyer has taken aim at the Iron Warriors Rhino containing veterans, popped the Rhino, and killed 1 veteran inside. They passed their pinning test. Alpha Legion turn 1 summary, quite an interesting first turn. Big blow, losing almost an entire tactical squad in the first turn, and their Rhino. The Arcus not really having any targets first turn was really difficult, but popping the Rhino for the Iron Warriors, leaving the veterans to walk across the battlefield, was a good success.
Turn 2 movement for the Iron Warriors. The Contemptor on the right flank has continued to press the advantage, pushing forwards, joined by a Cestus Assault Ram arriving from reserve and screaming onto the battlefield. Siege Tyrant Terminators have remained static, focused on their target, the Spartan. Rhino of the second squad is holding its position as a tactical reserve, while the firebase in the building remains in place, ready to direct all of its fire towards the enemy, and the Damocles Command Rhino wisely elects that discretion is the better part of valour and reverses hard. On the left flank, the Iron Warriors push forward, the Spartan in their sights. The end of the Iron Warriors movement phase, the Arcus attempted to intercept the Cestus as it arrived on the battlefield. Whilst it landed 3 solid hits, none were successful in glancing or penetrating in the armour. Iron Warriors turn 2 shooting phase, opening the round of shooting with the Contemptor on the right flank. The Keras Assault Cannon handily destroying the Rhino, killing 2 persons from inside it and forcing them to disembark. Arriving on the battlefield, the Cestus wastes no time in firing its weaponry. Unfortunately, the disembarking Alpha Legion squad are in cover, therefore he fired his missiles at the Sikaran Arcus, hitting it twice, scoring a glancing and a penetrating hit, both of them going through, leaving the vehicle shaken on its last hull point. The Iron Warriors Siege Tyrants, seeing the Spartan closing towards them, attempt to take it out, firing 10 shots into its side armour. Unfortunately, in the fog of war, only 3 strike home, failing to do any damage. Contemptor Dreadnought with a conversion beamer, seeing its targets disappear from it, catches sight of the rapier on the far bastion, takes an opportunistic shot, lands it on target, fortunately killing both crew and the gun outright. With the Spartan closing on the Iron Warriors' lines, the force on the left attempts to fire its melter weaponry, a multi-melter and melter gun from the Contemptor Dreadnought, and 2 melter guns from the squad. Although all hit successfully, no damage caused. The Iron Havocs, safe in their fire base, threw their fire out at the Alpha Legion squad at the centre of the board, hitting 16 times out of 18 shots with shrapnel bolts and hitting with a crack missile, stripping 3 from the squad, passing their pinning check. Last shots of the Iron Warriors shooting Phase, the quad gun attempted to try and lay down some pain on the Alpha Legion squad with frag shells. However, wildly inaccurate due to the lack of line of sight, scattering harmlessly. Iron Warriors turn to assault phase, 2 charges declared, Contemptor and the veteran tacticals making it into combat with the Spartan. Contemptor Dreadnought swinging first with its close combat weapon at strength 10, hitting 3 times out of 4 and causing 2 glancing hits to the Spartan. The veteran squad in close combat with the Spartan, only the Thunderhammer of the Sergeant can have a chance of doing anything with it. 2 attacks normal, 1 attack extra on the charge, needing 3s to hit. 3 hits. Doubling its strength with Thunderhammer, needing 6s to do any damage. Just the 1. Another glancing hit, Spartan on its last hull point. End of turn 2, ending with the assault phase there. Would have been absolutely heroic if the Sergeant had managed to take the Spartan down single-handed, but we'll have to get it next turn. All in all, good phase for the Iron Warriors.
Alpha Legion turn to movement. The Lone Legionary has moved further around the bastion, looking for the entrance for next turn. The Sicaran Arcus has moved round to get a better advantage on some of the units on the battlefield. The Legionaries that were central on the Thunderhawk have decided to take cover behind the Spartan. Spartan backing up 6 inches and disembarking the Linnaean Terminators led by Armilius Dynat himself. And finally, the Saboteur has arrived on the table from reserve. At the end of the movement phase, the Saboteur gets to do his sabotage attack. This allows him to inflict 1 automatic penetrating hit on a vehicle. His intended target is the Caestus Assault Ram. So we're going to roll for the attack now. 5. He adds 1 because of Armilius Dynat's special rule, taking it to a 6, but it's AP2, so that takes it to a 7. That's an explosion. Crash and burn. As a result of the crash and burn, the Caestus Assault Ram scattered 10 inches harmlessly into the side of the Thunderhawk, crucially killing 2 Terminators on its way down. Alpha Legion turn to shooting phase. After successfully taking the Caestus Assault Ram out and killing 2 Terminators, the Saboteur set his sights on the Damocles Command Rhino. Shooting the melter part of his combi bolter, he took a shot at the rear armour of the Rhino and, conspicuous in its absence, destroyed it. Alpha Legion Spartan taking aim with the left las cannon sponson and the heavy bolter into the quad launcher. Hit 5 times in total, managing to take out the launcher's gun first time. The Spartan used Power of the Machine Spirit to fire the right sponson into the side of the Contemptor, managing to make a penetrating hit, weapon destroyed, thankfully taking out his Power Fist. With the Caestus now destroyed, the Arcus took a cheeky shot at the side armour of the Contemptor, however, snap shooting only, missed altogether. As they run out of the Spartan assault tank, the Linnaeans see the veterans in their sight. Using Armilius Dynat's Cognis Signum to boost their ballistic skill, the Linnaeans take aim with their Volkite charges and shoot at the veterans in front of them. They manage to hit 13 out of 14 times, wounding 10 times, but the armour held on the Iron Fourth and crucially killed 1 melter gun. Final act of the turn, the 2 running units, we've got the lone Alpha Legionnaire banging at the door of the Bastion, and what remains of the Central Tactical Squad running to get into safe harbour with the opposite Bastion. Fantastic turn overall. Taking out the Caestus Assault Ram and killing 2 Terminators with 1 shot from the Saboteur was fantastic. Couldn't have asked for a better result. Also taking out the Damocles Command Rhino for a victory point at the end of the game. Taking out the Dreadnought close combat weapon for the ensuing close combat was also an excellent result for the Alpha Legion. Alpha Legion turn 2 assault phase. Armelius Dynat leads the charge with the Linnaean Terminators into the Dreadnought and into the Veterans. Overwatch was completely ineffective. However, Hammer of Wrath attack from the Venom Sphere harness killed 1 veteran.
Responding to the charging Alpha Legion, the initiative lies with the Iron Warriors. Contemptor Dreadnought swinging its damaged limbs and weapons towards the foe. 2 attacks, although hitting, not effective, causing no wounds. At Initiative 4, the Veteran Tactical Squad Weapon Masters lashing in with their close combat weapons, scoring a multitude of hits and only managing to drag 1 down with Fist and Blade.
Dynat, leading the assault for the unit, strikes in with 4 attacks with his Thunderhammer, managing to hit twice and killing 2 Iron Warriors outright. Armelius Dynat, leading the assault, swinging 3 times with his Thunderhammer, hits once, kills once. Also striking at Initiative 1, we have 2 Linnaeans with power axes and the Harrower with the Chain Fist. 8 attacks, 4 hit, killing 4 outright.
Veteran Sergeant swinging his Thunderhammer, last act of defiance, scores 1 hit, 1 wound, but saved by the Linnaean Terminator armor.
Finally, to strike for the Linnaeans against the Dreadnought is 1 Chain Fist and 2 Power Fists. Power Fists, wildly ineffective. However, the Chain Fist managed to rip the final arm off of the Dreadnought, leaving it on 1 whole point. Alpha Legion winning the combat, forcing the Iron Warriors to flee 9 inches away. Excellent result for the Alpha Legion. Probably the best result they could have had. They're now locked in combat, safe from all the enemy fire, the Siege Tyrants and the Iron Havocs, ready for assault the next turn with the Dreadnought.
Iron Warriors turn 3 movement. The 2 survivors of the Veteran Squad, still harrowed by their experience, have continued to flee. At the same time, the Rapier crew have moved back to try and gain a vantage point for shooting at the Saboteur lurking in their midst. Looking across the rest of the battlefield, the Siege Tyrants have remained stationary, as have the Iron Havocs. The Rhino biding its time at the back. The Contemptor on the right flank made an attempt to cross the barricade, but somehow snagged its feet on the way over and has not managed to do it. And the Terminators are cozying up against the Thunderhawk in an attempt to hug the cover. Iron Warriors turn 3 shooting phase, starting with the Contemptor on the right flank. Seeing the lone sergeant desperately attempting to break his way into the bastion, he took the decision out of his hands, using the Keras cannon and a rending shot to take him out for good. The Siege Tyrants, continuing their running battle with the Spartan, fired all 10 missiles towards its side armour. Terrible round of shooting to begin with, only hit 4 times. However, of those 4 hits, I scored 1 successful glance, taking the last point off after a failed cover save, removing the Spartan from the game. Conversion Beamer Dreadnought, seeing a chance to snipe at the tactical squad on the far side of the board, lands an opportune shot, although it does scatter, clipping 2 models and only killing 1. The Iron Havocs, seeing the tides of battle turn against them, have decided to try to play the mission. Therefore, they sighted the tactical squad on the far side of the bastion, holding the objective, and in a volley of shots scored a mighty 14 wounds, removing the squad from play. The 2 Rapier crewmen and the 2 fleeing tactical marines both poured volleys of fire into the Saboteur in an attempt to clip some wounds, non-successful. Iron Warriors turn 3 assault phase. The Contemptor Dreadnought, missing both of its arms, valiantly attacked at Initiative 4 in an attempt to take some of them down with him. Unfortunately, not successful. Balance clearly off after missing most of its limbs. The Linnaean Chain Fists came in, tore it apart. Explosion, hit everybody, killed nobody. Having dealt with the Contemptor, the Linnaeans have consolidated 4 inches towards the Iron Warriors' lines. Looking at the turn in summary, Iron Warriors still standing strong, still defending their lines. Linnaeans now pushing forward. It's going to be an interesting turn 4.
Alpha Legion turn 3 movement phase. The Xiphon Interceptor has yet to join the battle. However, the Grave Warden Terminators deep strike down in between the Iron Havocs and the Tyrant Siege Terminators, ready to attack. After a successful combat, Armelius Dynat and the Linnaean Terminators are charging towards the Iron Havocs in the ruined building. Saboteur, sneaking around at the back of the battlefield, has moved 6 inches and is currently hiding behind a wrecked Rhino. The Arcus strike tank has pivoted ever so slightly to bring the Contemptor on the far side of the battlefield into sight.
The end of Alpha Legion turn 3 movement phase. The Iron Havocs, sensing the disturbance in the warp as the Grave Wardens ripped their way into reality, used the Interceptor special rule to lay down some fire, fortunately managing to wipe out the entire unit in an effective display of shooting. Bryce.
Alpha Legion turn 3 shooting phase. Armilius Dyna and the Linnaeans take aim at the Iron Havocs. 12 shots from the Volkite Chargers, hitting 11 times, managing to kill 2 outright. Arcus Strike Tank, on its last hull point, in a last-ditch attempt to do some damage, takes aim at the Contemptor with the Kera's Assault Cannon. Ripple Fire, because it didn't move, shoots 8 times and manages to score 1 penetrating hit, getting a weapon destroyed result, taking out the Kera's Assault Cannon. The right Sponson Las Cannon takes aim at the Contemptor and manages to cause 1 glancing hit. Last action of the Alpha Legion shooting phase, the Saboteur ran a mighty 3 inches, keeping his back into cover. In summary, a pretty good turn for the Alpha Legion. Losing the Grave Wardens was a difficult blow. However, the Linnaeans are now in a prime position in front of the Iron Havocs for next turn, as they can't shoot with their heavy bolters.
Iron Warriors turn 4, important turn coming up. The Iron Havocs shuffled forwards, having intercepted last turn to bring their bolt pistols into range. Keir Valen dropped back, joining 2 veterans, fleeing to the upper level to hold the scoring objective. Below them, the Rapier crewmen repositioned themselves to try and bring their bolters to bear against the Saboteur. The last tactical Rhino reversed, disgorging its troops in an attempt to put some fire down onto the Saboteur himself, while the Siege Tyrant and the Contemptor have swung towards the centre to bring what weapons they have left to bear on the Linnaeans. The Tyrant Terminators, taking their chance, fired bolters and Cyclone missile launchers, cracked missiles at the Linnaean squad, peppering them with fire, managing to down 1 of the Terminators. The 3 remaining Terminators, sheltering in the ruins of the Thunderhawk, sighting the Linnaeans pass by, take their chance, Plasma Blaster, hitting twice, overheating, but thankfully surviving it and pulling 1 Linnaean from the battlefield. The veterans, having disembarked from the Rhino, flooded towards the Saboteur, bringing the bolters to bear and rapid firing. Although the 2 multi-gunners clearly need more practice, the bolters pinned the Saboteur with 5 wounds, of which 2 were failed, killing him. The Iron Havocs in the building fired their bolt pistols at the approaching Linnaeans, causing several hits but causing no casualties. The remainder of the bodies in the building, repositioning to try and bring their guns to bear on the Saboteur, spared the job with the tactical squad having finished him first. On the far side of the battlefield, sensing that conversion beam was out of range, the Contemptor has run forwards 4 inches to try and get a better shot, while the other Contemptor has moved over to better support its brothers.
Alpha Legion turn 4 movement phase. The Xiphon Interceptor finally arrived into the battle and it has his sights firmly set on the conversion beamer Dreadnought. The Linnaean Terminators are pushing forward towards the Iron Havocs, and the Arcus Strike Tank moved forward 6 inches to bring its guns into bear against the Iron Havocs. Alpha Legion turn 4 shooting phase. The Xiphon Interceptor, having just arrived from reserves, locks sight on the Dreadnought and misses with all of its attacks. The Sicaran Arcus Strike Tank shoots with its Arcus warheads at the Iron Havocs, hitting 3 times but only managing to kill 1 of the Iron Warriors. The right Sponson Las Cannon missed wildly, and the hull-mounted heavy bolter managed to hit once but did no wounds. Alpha Legion turn 4 assault phase. Dyna and the Linnaean Terminators could just about see the Iron Havocs up in top of the building. Managed to get the charge in. Overwatch was ineffective, as was Dynat's Venom Sphere, granting him Hammer of Wrath.
Iron Warriors striking initiative 4. 3 Havocs and a Havoc Sergeant, total of 5 attacks going in. 4 hits, but unfortunately no wounds.
Armilius Dynat strikes in with his Thunderhammer, initiative 1, hits 3 times out of 4 and manages to fell 2 Iron Warriors. The Harrow strikes in, initiative 1, with 5 attacks from his Chain Fist, wiping out the remainder of the Iron Havocs. The unit then consolidates to the top of the building, ready to face off against Keir Valen and the 2 remaining veterans. Fairly disappointing turn on turn 4 for the Alpha Legion. The Xiphon finally comes in and does absolutely nothing. The Arcus only managing to take off 1 wound from the guys in the building before the Linnaeans come in to wipe out the rest of the Iron Havocs.
Turn 5 movement phase for the Iron Warriors. The Rapier crewmen, having lost their gun many turns ago, have climbed to the upper floor to bring their shots to bear against the Linnaeans on the opposing side. Keir Valen and his 2 veterans have backed off slightly, providing a little bit of space between them in case some fire comes into the building. The Veteran Tactical Marines and Rhino have moved back towards the objective, ready to claim it in turn 6. The Tyrant Siege Terminators have manoeuvred into position, ignoring the Xiphon and Arcus, to try and bring supporting fire to bear against Armillus Dynat. Likewise, the Contemptor Dreadnought with a conversion beamer has remained stationary, ready to throw around into the building. On the other side, its Dreadnought brother, having possibly lost its remaining sanity, is now charging Helpful Leather towards the Arcus, while the Terminators edge over the Thunderhawk to bring its Plasma Blaster into range. Turn 5 shooting phase for the Iron Warriors, pouring fire into the building in the hope of removing some of those Linanes. The Tyrants successfully have stripped one, the Sergeant, out with a fusillade of missiles. Firing danger close, the Contemptor Dreadnought with the conversion beamer dropped around into the building, mere feet away, incinerating one Linane Terminator on the ground floor. 2 remaining Rapier crewmen pouring 4 bolter shots at rapid fire across into the other side of the building, putting a wound on Dynat and stripping another Linane from the squad. Death by 1,000 cuts. Veteran Tactical Squad, seeing its luck, manages to bring 5 bolter shots to bear. 6 bolter shots to bear on Dynat, although hitting him, failing to make any wounds. Keovalin and his 2 escorts fired into Dynat and the sole remaining Linane, with the 2 bolt pistols failing to wound Dynat. However, the Volkite Charger ripped apart a Linane, but failed to deflagrate properly across to Dynat. The opportunistic shot from the Terminator squad failed to produce any damage on the Arcus, while the Contemptor, using the cover of smoke, has run towards his prey a further 5 inches. Turn 5 assault for the Iron Warriors. The only assault I can make is Keovalin and 2 Veteran Tactical Marines into Armillus Dynat. A successful charge, no Overwatch possible. Turn 5 assault phase continued. Keovalin and his unit have made it into combat with Armillus Dynat. If you have to do a job, might as well do it yourself. So the Paragon Blade of Keovalin, swinging initiative 5. 4 attacks with an additional attack on the charge for a total of 5. Weapon skill 6 versus weapon skill 6. So hitting on 4s. 1 hit. +1 strength, so strength 5 against toughness 4, winning on a 3. That's 1 wound with a Paragon Blade AP2. 4 invulnerable save.
Good enough. He makes
saved.
Fantastic.
Initiative step 4. The solitary veteran armed with a bolt pistol and combat blade takes a swing, successfully putting a wound through Armillus Dynat's armour. Armillus Dynat left on 2 wounds. The veteran sergeant, weapon master, thunderhammer in hand, ready to swing. 2 attacks basic, +1 for charging. Hitting on 4s. No hits. The servo arm, swinging in from Keovalin, hits on a 6, needing a 2 to wound. A wound.
I've got 4 Iron Halo save on Armillus Dynat, otherwise he's doubled out and killed. And he dies, finally bites the dust.
Warlord for the Iron Warriors.
Before Armillus Dynat dies, he gets to strike back at initiative 1 with his Thunderhammer. He's got 3 attacks with precision strike, so any 6s I can allocate to whomever I choose. Needing 4s, hits twice with 1 precision strike, which I will allocate to Keovalin. So hitting the normal Marine first, Armillus Dynat needs a 2+, which he gets and doubles him out. Now for the precision strike against Keovalin, also needing a 2. Gets a 5.
The Iron Halo on Keovalin, jumping to his relief. A 4. Saved. End of turn 5. A great assault phase. Keovalin, although taking losses, managing to wipe out Dynat. Many thanks to the shooting from the other units around him, stripping those Linanes away, leaving us in a great position going to turn 6. Unit consolidated 6 inches, only needing 3 to stand on the objective.
Alpha Legion turn 5 movement phase. The Xiphon Interceptor have moved straight ahead, keeping aim on the conversion beamer Dreadnought. The Arcus Strike Tank has reversed 12 inches to get the Dreadnought hiding behind the wrecked Spartan into sight. And finally, the Rhino with the final TAC Marines has pivoted on the spot, and the unit has disembarked, ready for a run turn in the shooting phase. Alpha Legion turn 5 shooting phase. The tactical squads that have just disembarked from the Rhino have run closer towards the objective, ready for a turn 6 claim. The Arcus Strike Tank, finally, having just reversed into line of sight for the Dreadnought, fired 4 shots with the Arcus warheads, stripping the last 2 remaining hull points. Xiphon Interceptor took aim at the Contemptor Dreadnought with a conversion beamer. The las cannons on the front managed to hit once and take a glance, which was saved. And the rotary missiles underneath the Xiphon, one hit, again saved with the Atamantic shielding of the Contemptor Dreadnought. Overall, a mixed bag for this turn. The Arcus managing to take out the Dreadnought was a boon, and the Marines getting ready to take a turn 6 claim. However, disappointing that the Xiphon has yet to do anything in-game.
Sixth and final turn for the Iron Warriors. A few movements to bring myself onto the objectives. Keir Valen and the lone remaining veteran sergeant claiming 1 while the Rapier crew remain in place. Over on the landing pad, the Siege Terminators have moved forward to engage the Xiphon. Tactical Marines holding the objective. Rhino doing its best to stay in cover. And the Conversion Beamer Dreadnought having moved to try and avoid Xiphon's return fire. In the centre of the board, the 3 Terminators have clambered to the top of the Thunderhawk in an effort to bring shots to bear on the opposing side. Iron Warriors turn 6, the bitter end. Something of a summary this turn. Not a huge amount left on the table. Certainly not a huge amount that can reach out and do much in the way of damage. Tyrant Terminators tried to down the Xiphon as went overhead. Shooting, only scoring 1 hit. Successfully jinking and denying me the chance to wound it. Nothing else really in its arm has the arsenal to do anything about it. Shot from the Plasma Blaster as it went by from the Terminators. Unfortunately 2 misses, but no gets hot. So far, looking at holding 3 objectives and hoping to weather the next turn.
Turn 6 movement, Alpha Legion. The final unit of Tactical Marines have moved up to claim 1 objective. The Sicaran Arcus has pivoted ever so slightly to bring the Arcus launcher and the right Sponson las cannon into sight of the Terminators on top of the Thunderhawk, claiming the objective. And the Xiphon Interceptor has moved 18 inches towards the 2 remaining Rapier crew, hoping to get 1 victory point from at the end of the game. Alpha Legion, turn 6 shooting phase. The Sicaran Arcus uses its ripple fire to fire 8 shots into the Terminators on top of the Thunderhawk, manages to wipe the unit, denying an objective for the enemy. The tactical squad have run 4 inches, firmly claiming the objective by the Bastion. Xiphon Interceptor, not breaking with tradition, fires all of its arsenal into the 2 remaining Rapier crew, managing to miss with everything with its snap firing. That's the last action of the game.
Wow, what a game. That was extremely tense all the way through. I'm a little bit emotionally drained, gents.
Drained is the right word.
Absolutely brutal.
I think it skipped quite a few times, didn't it?
It swung. It absolutely swung.
Yeah, it started very much in your favour, I think, Richard. You sort of taking out units early on and then swung back my way, and then I really just struggled to claw back towards the end of it.
The Alpha Legion just felt like it was wave after wave of units sweeping in. I was just losing guns in every turn, but good game.
There was some really great moments in the game. The couple for me in particular, and we'll talk about later, is the Saboteur on the Caestus and the deep striking Terminators, which was the Grave Wardens.
Good times.
But major swings on both sides, eh? I bet you're all going to know the results, so we'll go into them very quickly. We'll start off with the Iron Warriors. They did a fantastic job. Death Toll was available, 10 points for Death Toll, 1 for Slay the Warlord, 1 for Martial Hubris.
Martial Hubris always lets me down.
God do it.
The arrogance.
And at the end of the game, you secured 2 objectives. So we've got to roll War of Lies. We love this mission. We're hoping for some minus D3.
Well, that would help me out, because I think mathematically it might just work.
It's tight.
I'm getting a bit nervy. I don't want to roll them.
Give it. You've already preempted 2 6s
because they won't roll 6s. Obviously.
Okay. Give it a whirl.
3 and a 6.
So we've got 3 and 6. You get +1, which takes you to 13. And what's your D3?
3.
Oh my god, takes you to 10.
Oh,
could be a draw.
I don't know. I don't think it can.
No, I don't think it can. Alpha Legion have secured 6 points for Death Toll. No other victory points scored, but 1 objective in the game. Roll it. What do you got?
The dice have been betraying me all game, so
minus D3. Hopefully.
He's got 3. So you get 1 victory point.
Hey.
Takes him to 7. So final score is 10 points to the Iron Warriors and 7 to the Alpha Legion.
Respectable.
That's
Respectable.
pretty. I think that reflects the savage battering we gave each other for 6 turns there.
Oh my god! Oh, well done, gents. Good effort.
Get rid of these.
We'll start with the Alpha Legion because I think you had a spectacular couple of rounds.
Yeah, only a couple, but yeah.
Tell me about your game.
Didn't go quite to plan. Started off quite slowly.
Okay.
Didn't really take off for me until the Saboteur arrived.
Yes.
Comes in, takes out the Kestus, kills 2 Terminators inside, and then decides to take out the Damocles Command Rhino.
Yeah.
And I just really, really struggled with the weight 5 from the Iron Warriors. It was just death by 1,000 cuts.
There was a couple of moments I think we were really unlucky. You were unlucky not to get the Xiphon in early because you could have done with a couple more rounds with it.
We did nothing with it. It didn't take anything out all game.
I was about to
Absolutely
say.
nothing. Comes in turns 4, misses every single shot it takes. It either kills everything or kills nothing.
It was moving very quickly across the table.
This is true.
Not much time to react, probably.
Unfortunately for me though, that's another nail in the coffin for the Xiphon with the advantage going to the Lightning Strike Fighter, which is a real shame because as we mentioned earlier, the aesthetic of the Xiphon works
Beautiful.
more for the
It's much
Legions.
more intense. It's got the Astartes sort of aesthetic.
Yeah.
But if you want a flying gunboat, bring a fire raptor every time.
Well, this is true. We've seen Raptors on the channel. They do so well.
Consistent output damage.
They are, and the ability for those waist-mounted autocannons to split fire independently from the rest of the ship, fantastic. But there were some amazing highs in your game, absolutely.
There were. Yeah, there were. I mean, the one that really stands out is the Saboteur. The Arcus took a few at the end. The Arcus ripple fired and took out the Terminators from the objective. I think that was a key moment of the game.
It's always your unit I struggle to get because of its just distant range and the fact it can move and sacrifice a bit of fire, but still fire so many shots.
Yeah, I mean, I had to sacrifice it early on, where I had to move it 24 because otherwise you were just going to take that out first turn.
I was going to. I was absolutely going.
So missed a couple of turns of shooting effectively, but took out Dreadnought, took out some Terminators. I think it made it point back just about.
I was really surprised though it survived to the end of the game because usually they die turn
Single hull point. It
two.
took 2 hull points, I think, in one round, and then survived limping around.
It was great.
Just one. Yeah.
Really good effort. We'll talk about the Iron Warriors now. Victors in this game.
I think that was a classically Iron Warrior ground out victory at the end. Actually, we threw a lot of bodies at the problem, and it eventually went away. But, good fun. There's some good moments, some table flipping moments there. I think
Got a little bit tense at times.
crashing and burning. There was a little bit sad for a minute, but no. All in all, I think the strength of the army is always that every unit contributes.
Yes.
Right? It's about where to firepower. The Linnaeans, I think it took me 5 random units of shooting to strip them down, each one killing a man until Dinah was left exposed, and then Viat Balan went for the throne.
I mean, it was pretty cinematic, wasn't it?
Oh, it was awesome.
Charging into the building and dying to the last man.
Fighting over the ruins from upstairs
Although,
and downstairs.
Kivarian almost lost it because he fluffed all of his attacks.
it.
didn't he?
Loved it. I think it took him a while to get his Paragon blade out. Thankfully, his servo arm did the damage.
Took a while to warm up.
Dinah just couldn't do it. Just couldn't finish him off with a hammer.
I think you do really great. Because of Augury scanners, they aren't perhaps as good as they were, but they were perhaps too good when they were good.
I think they're situational still, the points you pay.
Sure.
And there they proved it. So an Iron Havoc squad managing to intercept and just using massed shrapnel balls to pull down
That was
5
emotional.
Terminators, Grave Wardens.
Grave Wardens.
And having been on the receiving
2
end
up
of
armors, right?
Yeah. You wouldn't have seen that because that was behind the scenes, but somebody was saying, just put that.
2 up armors, you'll be fine.
They all died.
Can't die. But I've been on the receiving end of the Grave Wardens from Death Guard and Alpha Legion enough times to know just how much damage they can do, especially in a...
That was a real game changer, actually, because they would have come down, and as they usually do, they would have taken out those Iron Havocs in a round of shooting.
It took me 5, 6 units to shoot down 4 Linnaeans. I couldn't have moved them out.
They did a lot better than I thought they would. Normally they struggle a little bit. Either they don't get in combat or they get shot beforehand. So actually to get them into combat and do anything, I was quite pleased with.
I was really surprised about the Contemptor with the can't remember the
Heavy
name of it.
conversion beam.
Heavy conversion. Thank you. He did all right.
I think it gets overlooked a lot because you need to keep it static for firing calibration protocols. But all of a sudden, if you do find a good kind of sniping spot at over 42 inches, it becomes a strength 10 AP1 large blast. So it's a super long range vindicator, and it's got the armor and it's got an ability to reposition if you needed to. It's a solid unit that contributes 3-4 kills from a squad, takes off hull points on a vehicle.
I think there's only one turn it didn't shoot, wasn't there?
I think there were a couple where I had to reposition, but and obviously as you get closer, it gets worse. But it's still any large blast against an infantry army it's got to be a good. You've got to roll the dice at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it did really well. I was really surprised by that, but you're right, very effective, high strength, low AP. It's perfect for what you want. So I really, really enjoyed that game. It was exciting to watch.
Very tense.
It was really quick, and we said at the beginning of this game that if the two guys know each other and they play against each other, the game goes quite quickly, and we get the business done. And I really noticed that from games I've filmed in the past. You know, the banter between these two was next level, I have to say.
Got a bit dark.
Yeah. So, at some points, I wasn't sure if it became banter or just insult. So
it's a fine line between banter and bullying, clearly. Yeah. But a bit passive aggressive, but largely from me.
It was good. It was good. There was a couple of rules checks, but we got it down. I think that was a solid game in the end. I think so. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having us. It was.
I mean, fingers crossed there weren't any rules bits we missed. If there were, comment, let me know, because I think every time I play this, I'm learning. Even after how many years of playing,
many years.
There's little rules and there's context and situations that expose you.
And another thing as well is sometimes we get comments saying, "Oh, they didn't do a leadership test, or they didn't do this, they didn't do that." Generally, we do it off camera, and if anything situation happens, we'll talk about it. If not, assume that the leadership was passed or the initiative test was passed or whatever. So,
or that we fluffed our lines and didn't quite
describe to you what glossed over it,
and we didn't hear was Brains giving a stick in the background. So it's fine. It's all good.
It was good. It was a really good game. I've taken a ton of photos from this game, so when it is released, please go to the Facebook page and have a look. Instagram, you can obviously follow the channel on Instagram, so please go there. I assume if you're watching this, you are probably a follower, but we can follow you.
You can follow me, yeah.
Where can we get you?
You can get me on Chthonic Water Beast. That's CHTH Onic _water _beast. I've got a lot of Alpha Legion stuff on there. I'm also doing some Talons of the Emperor stuff for 30k.
Great.
Some of my older 40k stuff on there, and my Knights as well, which I spent a lot of time on. And some of Richard's models as well I've painted for him.
Nice.
I only bought Perturabo because you told me you paid.
And I did paint him.
And you did.
So you can see him on go on my Instagram, check him out.
It's beautiful.
Give us a follow.
Fantastic. You're not quite there with technology or the Instagram?
I am too old for Instagram, to be honest, and I can't paint quite that good. So I'm more than happy to go on Instagram and look at other people's models. Very happy.
So if you've got any questions about Richard's army or any of his rules, contact me. I'll pass them on. I know Richard.
Absolutely. He's currently playing my Ferris Manus at some stage when he gets around to it.
Oh, good. Now, gents, do you play locally where you are, or?
Yeah, we do. So we live down kind of Portsmouth way, but our local club effectively is Gosport Wargaming Club, a very welcoming club down in the Gosport area. So I highly recommend it to anyone who's looking to get into a game, particularly Heresy, but also a lot of other game systems.
I assume there's a Facebook page people can go and then.
Yeah, there is. Just Gosport Wargaming Club on Facebook. Should give you all the details you know.
Fantastic news. It's been a really great day today. I sincerely hope we'll see these gents back in the future.
Oh, I hope so.
Good. I would love to have you back.
I've got many different units, so I can put a completely different army together. One that might win.
Yeah, and your Solar Watch Custodians, my Iron Hands, will be painted at some stage. So it could be a good match.
Great. So we're really looking forward to get these guys back. If you would like to appear on the channel with your lovely painted army, then please contact David at the 30k channel, and we will try and set a date for you. Gents, if you're keen, flick me a message and we'll get a date set for you.
Absolutely.
So awesome. Just let me know.
Absolutely.
All that remains to say is, again, thank you for these gents. They've come up from Portsmouth. Lots of effort. Early start. I think it's 5, 6 o'clock now. They've got to drive home. So an amazing effort. So thank you again.
One of us will be enjoying the journey. I might find myself abandoned at a service station somewhere down the road. So it's all good.
Love it. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next game.